Good evening and welcome to another exciting adventure in integrative Hibodedut techniques. We're here on the 28th of the holy month of Shvat, rolling around, steaming into Adar, heading into the Purim time. People already starting to practice their firecracker shootout around here in the neighborhood. It's also the 20th day of January, and we're learning together with a worldwide Chabura, which is really exciting. Thank God for technology. We're in Hishtapchut HaNefesh. Also, this learning Hareini Mikasher Tzmei B'Limud Torah Zeh L'Kol HaTzadikim HaAmitim Sheberoim L'Kol HaTzadikim HaAmitim Shochei Afar Kedoshim Asher B'Atzem Afar L'Bein HaKadosh Tzadik Yisod Olam Nachman L'Bnei Kol Chochma Rebbe Nachman Nachman Human Zuchusam Yigim L'Kol Yisrael Amen. This learning, please, it should be in the merit for anyone who needs healing, including Chaya Bat Bea, including who else we have? We have Raphael Elisha Meir Ben Devora, Chaim David Ben Chana Golda, Asher Lazar, Asher Ben Chaya Sarah, and all those and Chana Bat Sarah, and all those who need a healing and for the freedom for our brothers and sisters who are imprisoned, and especially Ephraim Novak. He also Ephraim Yisrael Ben Asnat for healing and for his freedom, and for Jonathan Pollard and for Shalom Rubashi and all people who are imprisoned, and whether they be physically, spiritually, emotionally imprisoned. May Hashem should free us soon to be able to be the lights that we're supposed to be unto ourselves and each other and to the nations. Okay, here we are. We're on Torah. We're on not Torah section. I've been calling these Torahs, but I was corrected by our brother Chaim David that actually the only thing that's called Torahs in Rebbe Nachman's teachings is Likutei Moharan. It's called Torah, Aleph, Torah, Bet, etc. This is called sections or chapters, and we're in chapter 77, and it goes like this. Goes like this. Anybody who wants to take pity on his own soul, that he shouldn't lose his world, chas v'shalom. And when it says lo yabed olamo, it means that you shouldn't lose your connection to the world. Okay, God forbid it. Also, Hashem, we're not we're talking about. So somebody says, "Oh, if I don't do what I'm about to read, I'm not going to go to heaven." Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the idea, the loss of his place and the connection to his world, because in the end, Kol Yisrael Yesh Lehem Chelik Le'olam Haba. We all have a part in the world to the world to come. We also have places. Anybody who's been trying to be a generally good person, certainly, and especially if you're connected to the Tzaddik Emet, he'll pull you out. So you always have a place. So what is he talking about? Lo ya'abed et olamo. You shouldn't lose his world, right? It means a person. It does mean to not lose your part in the world to come. God forbid. It means not to lose that whatever level. But it also means not to lose the connection to that we go through here. Rebbe Nachman talks about that a person should always be checking himself to see if he has awareness of the world to come in his daily comings and goings. So, if a person wants to have mercy on his soul and not to lose his world, tzarich lechapes v'lachkor ma'od achar ha'emes k'dei lashuv el Hashem be'emes, needs to search out and investigate deeply to see the truth in order to be able to return to Hashem in truth. Ki ulai mateh atzmo dato be'ez derech ulai hu mateh atzmo be'ez derech lo tov chas v'shalom, or perhaps he's fooling himself, and he's misleading himself into a way that's not good. God forbid. Because he hasn't formed the light of the Torah into its proper vessels, into its proper understandings, its proper way to be. Because you see, there's plenty of people who live lives of lies. And yet they learn Torah, and yet they think they're following Torah, because Torah, our sages teach us, is a Sam Chaim or a Sam Mavis. The Torah, just because you're learning Torah doesn't mean you're connected to life. Because a person who learns Torah from a place of ego, because I want to be smart, because I want to have something interesting to say to somebody, because for whatever reason that's not purely for the sake of coming to serve Hashem, that is an aspect of being misled, of misleading oneself. So it's a person. So that when a person is doing that, they didn't merit to form the light of Torah properly. Because the vessels of his mind are not complete. They're not well formed. They're damaged. They're distorted because of what he says here is pagam habris. Now pagam habris means the defilement of the sexual covenant, the covenant of sexuality. And so we're going to say, so what does this have to do with a woman? Because she doesn't have a bris. What does it have to do? What does this idea of searching for truth have to do with sexual impurity anyway? Because we're talking about the idea of bris. The bris is like this. Hashem said, "I'm giving you a relationship with me that is going to be based on a level of faith that is going beyond what your five senses tell you." Because according to anybody who lives in this physical world, the greatest pleasure is sexual pleasure, right? And so Hashem says, I want you to take that sexual pleasure that I've created, and it certainly is a pleasure, and it's certainly very holy, and in its right place, it's holy of holies, and Shabbos with your wife, in the proper way, in proper circumstances. And I want you to keep it in that holiness. And it takes faith, and it takes a relationship with Hashem to do that, because people go around like animals, and an animal doesn't think about when an animal has a desire to have for copulation, it copulates. It doesn't think about, oh, is there something higher than this? It doesn't consider, oh, maybe this pleasure is not the real thing, right? So that's a level of truth. Truth is, this pleasure that seems so real, I believe with absolute faith that what the sages told me, that what Hashem told me, that this pleasure, if I could see the true pleasures, I would consider this pleasure as nothing. And the main way that we fix all of this, the fixing of pagam bris, and so I'm sorry. Let me go. I didn't get so. So when a person blemishes the bris, and there's a number of ways that happens. It happens through actual impurity of our sexual behavior. It happens. That's certainly the key way it happens. And God forbid when a person has sexual arousal, or God forbid has a seminal emission. Especially, God forbid if he did it through his own means and his own paying attention to things that causes those types of arousal. Pagam bris happens through looking at those things that cause arousal. Pagam bris happens through thinking those things that cause arousal. But it also, pagam bris is anything that really is off target with Hashem, is in the aspect of pagam bris. Speaking improperly is an aspect, because there's actually called the circumcision of the mouth. Also the heart. Using the heart improperly is an aspect of pagam bris. There's something called circumcision of the heart. So there's all these. So these are all the different aspects of pagam bris. And in our world, especially in our time, we have to understand and know that each of us, unless we grew up totally righteous, and I hope that everybody here has. I myself, I'm sorry to say, embarrassed to say that I did not, but I'm happy to say, I'm grateful to say that Rebbe Nachman's been showing me the way to come out of that and to fix that, and that there's a possibility to come out of this. And the main way for this is through calling out, screaming out, praying, and talking to Hashem, and making oneself alone. You need to scream all the time. Guys, you know what? When you're out in the street, day by day, and you see what's going on, do not be blind to yourself. Do not be blind. Don't think you're not being affected by what you see out in the streets. Every day we have to scream out to Hashem and ask Him to heal the blemishes that have happened to us just from what we've seen. Every day we have to scream out to Hashem and beg Him to protect us from our own inner urges, that the Yetzer Hara wants to pull us into the lowliness of physicality. So you need to call out a lot to Hashem. That Hashem should lead him on the path of uprightness and truth always. David, the King David, he was mamish all the time. You look at Tehillim, it's full of longings and screamings and callings out to Hashem in this way. What does it say? Like it says, Horeini Hashem darkecha, ahalech b'amitecha. Please, Hashem, show me your way. I will go in the way of your truth. Horeini Hashem darkecha u'necheni be'orech mishor. Please, Hashem, show me your way and guide me in the straight path. Horeini Hashem derech ukecha. Please, Hashem, show me the way of your statutes. Shlach orcha va'amitcha hema yanchuni. Send to me your light and your truth, and they will guide me. V'chein harbeh ma'od. And there's many other instances, like David HaMelech was always, you think David HaMelech, big tzaddik, righteous guy, merited that Shmuel HaNavi came and saw all his beautiful looking brothers, not them, and he went and found this little red-headed shepherd in the field. So that's the guy. He's the king. So you think David HaMelech was the king because he was already like 100% fixed and righteous? No, he was 100% in longing to Hashem with tremendous desire and calling out constantly that Hashem should bring him to closeness. That was why King David is our king. And therefore we have to understand, if that's our king, if that's the foundation, if that's what Hashem chose us through our history to show us that this is the epitome of a king, then we have to bring that kingship into each one of ourselves. Each one of us, and learn how and train ourselves to call out to Hashem. And we have to always ask. Rebbe Nachman says a person should yearn to merit, to say one word of truth his entire lifetime. That's shocking if you think about it. What do you mean? Does that mean like that all my words are lies? Well, see, in relationship to absolute pure awareness of Hashem, then anything less than that is called a lie. Right? Do we have to be hard on ourselves about that? No. Hashem made it this way on purpose, because as we've talked about many times, that one of the main reasons we're here is to be imbued into dark, to be insulated and injected into darkness, so that we can have many different possible experiences, and especially in the end, to be able to appreciate the infinite eternal light, the good that He wants to give us forever and ever. So we don't have to feel bad that we're stuck in lies. We have to actually, it's a good thing to laugh about it. It's a good thing to be, wow, this is amazing. This looks so real. This looks so true. And yet, what I see isn't the real thing. What I feel isn't the real thing. This body, this identity that seems so real, it seems it's so me, is not the real truth. So that's the way we have to be with Hashem, and so we have to constantly be every day. There's a prayer that I like to do. Hashem, please, you know the truth and I don't. This world is called the world of lies. This world is actually called that, Alma de Shikra, by our sages. This is a world called the world of lies. So I say, Hashem, you know the truth. This is the world of lies, as only you know, and I'm blind ultimately. I don't know, I can't see. I don't know what's really true and what's really not. Maybe I'm attached to lies and I don't know it. Hashem, you know that I want your truth. I don't want my truth, I want your truth. And I'm begging you, I'm pleading you, please illuminate for me your truth. And if there's anything that I'm attached to, anything that's in my life that I believe is true that's a lie, show me. Because I don't care, I don't want it, I don't have to be right. I don't mind making mistakes. I'm okay. I can make a mistake. You can show me that I'm making a mistake. That's all I'm asking. That's what David HaMelech says. Horeini darkecha. Show me your truth and I'll go. I'll go in your truth. Show me your truth and I'll go. And that's the type of thing we want to be always pleading and begging to Hashem, that He should give us that ability to illuminate for us what's His truth. Because a person needs a great merit, and great salvation, and tremendous compassion, and efforts, and toil, and great toil every day of his life. To merit to go in the way of holiness, in the pinnacle of truth. And that's not easy. We know, everybody here, maybe you don't know, but I know it's really hard. I hope you don't know. I hope you're all big tzaddikim and going the ways of Kodesh. But if we're brothers and we tell each other the truth, we're regular people, right? And we know that it's not easy to always be thinking of God, always be thinking of what can I do to increase my holiness. So how can we come to that? If I can't do it, and this is where before I came to Rebbe Nachman's advice, I would get into frustration and despair because I felt like I'm trying, but I see that I'm weak. I see that I'm lazy. I can't. It's hard for me to constantly be aware. I want to constantly be aware of Hashem, but the next minute I'll say that, and the next minute I'll be pulled into, who's at the door, or what do they want, or why do they hear, what am I going to do? And I'm forgetting that Hashem's the one who's bringing them to the door. Hashem's the one, whatever's going on, it's totally Hashem. Right? I'm teaching them, giving over this. In the minute, 1 minute, I'm teaching and I'm thinking that I'm aware that this word somehow, or the words of Hashem coming out. The next minute, I'm back into my ego. I'm teaching this. Right? So how do we come to that? By begging for it over and over and over and over. You need to scream to Hashem and give your soul over. You have to give yourself. You have to be self-sacrificing to develop these traits. Until he literally almost loses his soul. So what we have to do is get to let ourselves feel how. What if all of a sudden you felt your life was a lie? Would you be crushed? I would be. So he's saying that and remember we talked about this, that the only way you can let yourself feel the pain of these types of things is if you already know that paradoxically you're 100% fine. That the world is a paradox, and that Hashem is creating each one of us perfectly with exactly the combination of talents and flaws, with our strengths and our weaknesses, and so there's no yeush. There's always hope to turn to Hashem. So no matter, even if I'm an absolute lowest of the low, even if my life is an absolute total lie, I have absolute hope to be able to be brought up out of it. So once I know that, now I can allow myself to feel the pain of, well, what if I'm living an absolute lie? To let myself feel that sense of being crushed. That's self-sacrificing. And it's from that place of allowing the heart to break that way, that's the most powerful, potent prayer that you can do, that gets you, that Hashem will give you. And you watch it for yourself. Do this and you'll see a miracle. You'll see, wow, I'm aware of Hashem more often. This is really cool. I'm walking down the street and I'm thinking about, wow, Hashem's orchestrating everything that's going on in each person. And I'm having a conversation and I'm staying aware that, wow, this is an amazing thing. Here's this person that I love. We're having a conversation and Hashem's creating him and Hashem's creating me and all the words. And there's this amazing dance of holy sparks that's going on. It's an amazingly blissful existence to hold that awareness. And it's a wonderful ability. And it comes exactly like we're saying, when you break your heart and cry to Hashem and let yourself feel and cry that pain that you're feeling from the possibility that maybe your mom is totally full of lies. Until your soul literally almost leaves you, God forbid, as our sages of blessed memory said, he said in this Gemara in Tainis, a person's prayer is not heard unless he places his soul in his hand. So you're giving your soul. Here's my soul. Here it is, Hashem. Here I am. Here's my heart. Here's my soul. Here I am, before you, Hashem. Because the main way to fix any blemish of the covenant, to get out of the exile of being attracted to women. We're so used to it, and it's so prevalent in our society. It's such a strange thought. Wait a minute, don't I want to have that? Don't I want to have that desire? Well, apparently not. Apparently, if we believe our sages with simple faith, that's not where we want to be. And so it takes a whole re-education. That's something that it's been very tough for me. To re-educate myself to think that, because I thought, well, if you have this desire and you put it into its proper frameworks of holiness, then that's the goal. And yes, that is a goal. That is certainly along the way a goal. But really, a man should get to the point where his pleasure is coming from the straight pipeline to connection to Hashem, and that's what do you think the pleasure is? The pleasure of sexuality, the pleasure, that desire. What do you think that's rooted in? It's rooted in the place of absolute unity, absolute oneness of Hashem, and He created that pleasure, and we're supposed to use that. Why did He give it to us? because we're supposed to recognize and understand and teach ourselves, oh, this pleasure is just a hint of the real pleasure that Hashem wants me to have by my relationship with Him. He wants me to be in sexual unity, in absolute intimacy with Him. And that's and that state of being, that's called the veikut. And that we want to get to the point where we're always in that state. And you know, when a person's always in that state, nothing changes. That's what it made. One of the meanings of the verse, it says, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. The simple meaning of that verse is I've placed Hashem before me always. But like the Baal Shem Tov said, and I also believe the Vilna Gaon said this. He said, Shiviti kama Hashem lenegdi tamid. Shaveh, Shiviti, I'm equal, I'm the same. I have what's called Hishtapchut. I am stoic, like happy stoicism. I have the same emotional state all times because Hashem is always before me. Whether it's comfortable, it's uncomfortable, I see it's always Hashem. Therefore, I'm always in the same level of happiness. I don't have increased or lowered happiness. I'm in the same level of awareness, and it stays with me. Okay, and we know that even we talk about that ideal. Nobody's going to be it's impossible to stay in the same place of awareness. Even Rebbe Nachman himself talks about there's higher times and there's low. Every person has to be an expert in going up and going down. But nevertheless, if Hashem is always before me, I always have that awareness of joy and pleasure from that relationship, and therefore I'm not seeking it in the physicalities of this world, which is the sexual. The pleasure of sexuality is the basic root of all pleasures. So pleasure of eating is Gama Bris comes from miseating as well, eating improperly. It comes from the pleasure that we have from being honored. When somebody gives honor and that feels pleasurable, that's rooted in the pleasure of sexuality. The pleasure we have from getting a lot of money, it's rooted in the same place. So all these pleasures, when a person has the proper experience and relationship with our Creator, then there's no longer any difference. I have money, I don't have money. I'm being respected, I'm not being respected. I'm eating, I'm not eating. It doesn't change. Shiviti. So he says the main way to get out of this exile of these ta'avot, because that's why it's an exile, because when we're connected with a pure relationship with Hashem, there's no exile. That's regula, that's redemption. When we look to the world for our physical pleasures, for our feeling good, that's exile. And the way out of this exile is in this way, screaming to Hashem, praying constantly, begging for it. Much screaming out. Oh, so you take that feeling, imagine what it is, the feeling being so far away, so stuck in the world of lies, of feeling that deep hole that makes you want to go out and find a woman, etc., and you let yourself feel that pain, and you take that pain in your hands and you give it to Hashem and you scream it, "Oh, my hurts!" And you be true. And if you can get out to the forest and really let it rip, good. And if you can't, put your face in a pillow, and let, because it hurts. And this scream lets out that pain energy, and it soothes it. And I'm talking, that's physiology. Now, what's really happening in the spiritual level is the scream is what Hashem wanted, and then He takes the pain away, because He gives you the connection. The scream creates the connection. The scream is like your modem. It's like that's you do the scream and you make the connection. You have to scream out 70 screams at least. And a way to do that, by the way, later on we're going to see that talks about the knocking on the walls of the heart. And a way to do this is you just put into your mind the longing and your desire and how much it hurts, and let your thoughts stay with that as you just keep going. Over and over, and let your thoughts keep going to Hashem that you're screaming, and it's very important. One of the traps in this is you start listening to yourself. Oh, I'm screaming. Okay? You got to keep the scream is I'm screaming to Hashem, and it's not about me. I'm really screaming. My Father is there. He's listening. He likes this. He wants this, and you keep yourself. And that's what he's about to say here. He says, "Uve'elu." Uve'evu shavin kalim klulim kolos tzakos tfilos v'tachnim le'en mispar. In these 70 voices, these 70 callings, are included voices and screams and prayers and supplications in uncountable number. Kol yemei chayav shel adam. Each day, he's recommending, his advice is do this every day. The first time I ever did this, I was, or one of the first times, I was at Rebbe Shimon, and I was down below where the lower part, where the closer to where the actual grave is, and I stood at the door, and I just what I just did. Oi, oi, oi! I don't know how long I was doing it, quite a while, and just all sorts of thoughts about yearning and wanting to be. And when I finished, I turned around and the guy handed me 200 shekels. Not exactly. I guess he understands. A person screaming like that is accessing a level of connection. So he figures, okay, I'm gonna. That's why, by the way, that's also why there's a donation suggested for the class, because when you learn something, when you give some money, you're basically, that money is called damim. It's part of their soul, and so there's an exchange. So you actually get to own what you've received from the class. So it's always good to give something when you've learned something. So he gave me that money, and then he asked me to pray for him in a certain prayer, and so this is the type of thing I believe, from my understanding and my experience, that Rebbe Nachman is talking about here. Why 70 voices? Why 70 callings? Because the average length of the life of a person is ordained at 70 years. And that's Keneged Shivim Panim LaTorah. There's 70 faces, 70 facets of the Torah. That ideally we're supposed to be able to come to in our lifetime a relationship with all the 70 faces of Torah. V'kol echad yechol lahavin b'nafsho kama hu rachok k'dayin afilu mebechinas panim echad LaTorah mikol sheken mikulam. And each of us needs to understand, in our deepest understanding, how far we are even from one face of Torah, let alone all of them. Therefore, even if a person hasn't done a lot of damage to his spiritual self, and even if he's already spent a lot of time in prayer and calling out to Hashem, and he's learned a lot of Torah, and he does a lot of mitzvahs, even that person, even though he's done all this, he still hasn't even merited to really relate to access one of the faces of Torah. And not even 1,000/10,000th, like 1/10,000,000th of a face of Torah he hasn't gotten to yet. All the more so how much he must scream to Hashem each and every day of his life. And it's already a known thing, that you can't ever let yourself despair from screaming out. You think that you've gone for years and years, then that it'll happen sometimes. It'll happen sometimes where you've been asking for something and praying for it, and you haven't seen yourself change. He says, know that this is going to happen, especially as you progress. You're going to get to a point, at first, we've talked about this before, many times, especially at first, Hashem will lift you up and give you, he says, oh good, you're trying, here, I'll show you that I'm with you. And he gives you a little confidence that he's with you. Then he throws you down and says, okay, now you're going to go in the muck, and now you just have to have faith that I'm there. And even if you don't see yourself change, don't despair from screaming out. Keep screaming out, keep screaming out. In the end, you will come to the good. Even if a person has done tremendous amounts of blemish, God forbid, and he's still a shlump. If he doesn't despair and take himself away from crawling out and praying and asking and begging Hashem, if he continues to do that all his life, you're going to merit to actually reveal numbers of faces of the Torah in truth. And that's an amazing bliss. It's an amazing gift that we each get to have, because Torah is called a gift. And if we don't relate to Torah that way, that's another thing to scream for. Hashem, I've been told that your Torah is a gift, but I don't find it that way. And tell Hashem the truth. Please, Hashem, if it's such a gift, please open my heart that I should experience it as a gift. And that's a very important prayer to have. And he says, if a person will continue to scream out and cry out and supplicate and beg all his life, he will certainly come to merit to reveal numbers of the faces of Torah, and even all 70 of them. Ki Hashem yisbarach tov lekol, because Hashem is good for everyone. Rak tzurichin eze isarusa de lasata. You just need an arousal from beneath, which we were talking about last week. You need to do your work. You need to start. You need to try. Okay? How much do you have to try? Wait and find out. What if I tried and I've had people say, well, I tried and I didn't see anything. Well, keep trying. Don't give up. And the main thing is to scream out all the time to Hashem. Until you can merit to break all your physical urges. And the main thing is the sexual urge. And then a person can merit to reveal the Torah in the aspect of the 70 faces of Torah. May Hashem give us the strength, the fortitude, the belief, the joy to always scream out and scream out each day of our lives for the truth, to come to the true realization, the revelation of the true Torah. That we should be zocheh to be connected to faces of Torah, to reveal for ourselves all the faces of Torah, and to live a life that is in dveikut, in awareness of Hashem, and to stay in that awareness. Man, how's everybody doing? Should we? The next one's moderate length. Should we start it, or is that enough? We kind of got a late start today. How's everybody doing? To do more? More?
Okay.
A little more?
Any more minutes?
Well, we can stop whenever we can start it, and then we can, if you're saying too much, you can say, Moshe, I'm squoze out. You can do it. Actually, that's really the thing to do. When we're too tired to keep learning, that's another thing. That's you scream, Hashem, I'm too tired. And it's so easy to get caught into being used to. I'm used to human nature is to get tired. So when I'm tired, I rest. And that's true. Except then once we can either stay in nature or we can go above nature. How? That's the hookup, the download. We activate the scream mechanism, and we can hook in and we can get more strength. So let's do it. Oi! Okay, Ayin Chet, 78. You need to always strengthen and encourage yourself to say many prayers and supplications and conversations between yourself and your Creator. In order to arouse inside of himself his good point. That good point illuminates his heart. When a person screams out enough, his good point, his point of absolute truth, his point of absolute purity becomes aroused, it fluoresces. And that fluorescence starts to fluoresce into his heart. And then what happens is it causes a vibrational change of all the uncomfortable things that are sitting on the heart, all the charafot, the irritations, and the ahavot ra'ot are evil loves, which again the same ideas. Why do we want things outside? Why are we looking for that next hamburger? Why are we looking for the next woman? Why are we looking for the next way to make a lot of money? Why? Because inside we're uncomfortable. Is the irritations, is the charafot and the bizyonot. And it makes us look for some way to soothe that discomfort. And that's the ahavot ra'ot, when we're looking outside of ourselves instead of inside and up for our soothing. And these things sit in our hearts. Shein bechinas or laslev, and they're the aspect of the foreskin of the heart, as is mentioned in chapter 50. Ach machma shebechol eis misgabrin ha'cherfos lev la'alim u'lastir or nekudaso kedosha. But because each and every time these heart irritations, these uncomfortable feelings, these restlessnesses are coming up upon us to hide and to cover up the light of his holy true point that is applicable to his heart at that time, because that point changes depending on your time and depending on who you are. So what stops us from feeling that are these irritations from the world. Al kain al pirov derech ha'adam harotze la'asok bezeh lefaresh sichaso beino leven kono. Therefore, most of the time, when the way of people, the way of a person that really wants to be involved with this idea of conversing with Hashem, of talking to God, nidmeh lo b'chol pa'am she'ata eno yechol ledaber. It seems each time you try to open your mouth and pray, the next time you try, and the next time you try, each time it seems like I can't speak. It's too hard. It's too heavy. I just don't have it. I'm too tired. And he doesn't know what to say. And he doesn't know what to say, and his heart's stuffed up. Ki yadua, as is known. And all this comes from this inner irritation that we get in our hearts that drives us kind of crazy. But really, the truth is, it's absolute lie, and it's the Satan's work. It's the Yetzer Hara's work. Because if a person says, I can't speak, I can't talk, I can't do it, then it will seem that way forever. That he will see that no, I just don't have it. I can't do it right now. Yeah, you're on a different level. You can do it. For me, it's too hard. That I just don't have it right now. And he never opens his mouth and he never prays. God forbid. And then this attitude causes an increased level of irritation in the heart, because it's building up. And it builds up and it drives us crazy if we don't do this. Once you've taken the red pill, or there's the blue pill, I think. Once you've taken the blue pill, you're there. You can't. There's no getting pulled back out of the matrix.
What's the
put back into the matrix. For anybody who hasn't seen the movie The Matrix, it's a great mashal. It's a great analogy for this. And once you've started to do this process, basically, once you've started to really have a relationship with Hashem, you're going to have to keep it up. Okay? Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself that with all these the Sitra Achra, the other side, does not want us to do this. This is more than that. The Sitra Achra absolutely hates when we try to have a relationship with Hashem. And the main way the Sitra Achra will try to pull us away from that relationship is to get us with feelings that are uncomfortable, which make us want to look in the world and go in the computer and do things to distract ourselves and get away from the uncomfortable feelings. Right? So we have to remember when that's happening, that the main thing is time and time again, we have to come back and say, no, I can speak, I will speak, I insist, I'm going to speak, because of the if not, these charafot build up and the covering and the heart gets covered. More and more each time. Because the main nullification of the deadening, the desensitization of the heart, is by connecting one's heart to his holy point through the words of his mouth. That he screams out, that he pours out his conversation before Hashem, and he rouses his own inner good holy point. I think that's where we'll pause. May we be zocheh to always believe in our prayer and always continue to scream out, "Oh Hashem," no matter what. "Oh Abba, please give me," and scream it and ask for the ability to pray. All of this that we're talking about. Yes, it's good if you can just go do it, but ask for the ability to do it. Don't just hear it and say, okay, now I'm going to do this. Rather, hear these ideas and then turn to Hashem and let your heart fill with yearning. How much do you want to do this? How much do you want to have a relationship with Hashem? And hold that in your heart. And then silently scream that and feel the pain of that yearning. And then say, please Hashem, I want so much to come close to you. Please illuminate my words with prayer that I should pray all the time. And I should remember to pray and get used to praying and never ever let myself fall away from praying and talking to you. Those are the types of things that will bring us to these levels. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful week.